Let's do a sample proof. Let's talk about how we can set a goal of where we're going with the proof by looking at what's given, what's in the diagram, and then start processing where we want to go logically through the proof. So in this one, the measure of angle 1 is 150 degrees. This tells us that angle 5 here is supplementary to angle 3. What we want to be able to do is prove that the measure of angle 5 is equal to 30 degrees. So let's go ahead and process through this by thinking about what we have with this diagram that can add to the information, and that will help us decide what sequence of steps we want to do. So if you look at here, we've got angle 3 and we also have angle 1. The relationship between those two is that they're vertical angles, meaning that they're congruent. So if we've got vertical angles congruent, I'll be able to relate those. And since angle 3 is supplementary to angle 5, they add up to 180, so I'll be able to use that information to substitute in. So let's go ahead and start this problem. So first of all, we've got our given. So the measure of angle 1 equals 150 degrees. Okay, that's our given. And I'm going to include the fact that we've got our supplementary angles here also. So angle 5 is supplementary to angle 3. Okay, now with our given, let's use the fact that they're supplementary to say that they're equal to 180 when we add them. So we take the measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 3 is going to be equal to 180 degrees. And that is by the definition of supplementary. Now let's turn our attention to the idea of vertical angles. We know that 1 and 3 are going to be congruent because they're vertical angles. So let's state that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and that's by our vertical angle theorem, which says that vertical angles are congruent. Now, if you look at this, we can use the definition of congruence to put it into measurements. So if we convert, this becomes the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3, and that's by the definition of congruence. And now if you look, we can take this here, we've got a measure of angle 1 here, and we can substitute in or use the transitive 150 degrees for it. I'm going to use transitive because it's the full side here, and so I'm going to go ahead and say that the measure of angle 3 is equal to 150 degrees, and that's by a transitive. Property of equality. Once I have that, I can take this and I can substitute it now into here, into this equation. So step 2, I'm going to substitute, take out the measure of angle 3 and substitute 150 degrees. So we get the measure of angle 5 plus 150 degrees equals 180 degrees. From there, that's substitution. And now we go ahead and subtract from both sides, and we get the 150 degrees subtracted from both sides tells us that the measure of angle 5 is equal to 30 degrees by the subtraction property of equality. So what I'd like you to see is that when you look at the given and you set your sights on getting to the proof, use your diagram to come up with some extra information. Start thinking through logically what steps will follow to get you from the hypothesis to the conclusion and complete your proof.